Hey watch guys, I hope you're all very well. Getting another video out today. You can see that this weekend I've had a relatively good amount of time to do some of the things I want to do, saying that I haven't been to the gym yet, so that is on the cards today. Anyway guys, I thought I'd get a video out today on a sort of interesting topic. Someone asked me some time ago and took me a while to digest the question in terms of how I wanted to answer it, but what are the sort of top watches that I regret selling? For me, I think I just had to put it into a list of five watches which over the years of collecting watches or buying watches, selling watches, whatever, being a watch enthusiast, 5 watches which I do regret selling for various reasons. So, you know, we'll get into that. I'm wearing the SD4K today, guys. SD4K, I thought I'd give it a bit of love this Sunday. I fancied a little bit of bracelet on me today as well, and the Omega is on a rubber strap, which would mean I have to go to a shop, change it, all that sort of, you know, admin, and I couldn't be bothered. But that's a nice thing about having both of these guys with me at the moment. For those of you who don't know, this is my favorite watch in general, but I think I've done a video on that. At some point I'll do a video on a sort of longer term review of this watch, how it feels after a few months, maybe 6 months, and we'll have an interesting discussion. Anyway, first watch, and I'm going in order here of, these are my top 5, so in order of, well, number 1 will be the one I regret selling most. Sorry, I've got a bit of a brain fart happening at the moment. So guys, this was probably around, well, just 2 years ago. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, yeah, 2 years ago, I picked up a new Kermit, or as some of you refer to it as the Starbucks. So the new Submariner with the green bezel, the ceramic one. I had it for a short period, and I was kind of choosing between it and a Hulk, and I had both, and then I thought, you know what, I don't really need it. But there's something that I really like about the Kermit after having played with it here and there, seen friends' ones. I like that it's a Submariner, but it's got a splash of interest on it, so it's got that bit of colour. You could almost say it's got a bit of a military vibe to it, a bit of a field vibe to it. The colour, I like the colour on the new Kermit. I refuse to call it a Starbucks. I'm sorry, guys, but if the new Pepsi is the new Pepsi, then why can the new Kermit not be the new Kermit? I don't want to start a new topic on this, but it just really, this is the little thing that bothers me. The new Kermit is the new Kermit. I mean, otherwise the new Pepsi should have a completely different name to the old Pepsi, and people are calling it Starbucks. Anyway, I regret selling that watch. I think it's a lovely watch. There are a few things I have against the new subs, maybe, you know, larger bracelets, wider, bigger clasp, but it's okay. For me, as an individual, it doesn't really affect me. I think, you know, from a market point of view, from a general market point of view, I think it's a bit larger than it needs to be, but that is a really nice Submariner. If I was to go get a Submariner date to have, it would be the Kermit again. I've missed the boat on that one. I sold my one at the time because I just didn't need it, and I preferred to have a little bit of money from it. I thought, let's just let it be. All right, guys, fourth. So, fourth on the list, what I regret selling is the 2016 Rolex Daytona ceramic I had, the black one with a black face. I had that watch. I bought it around 2016. I bought it for about £13,000. It was Asian stock. I think it was from Hong Kong, if I remember. I bought that watch for £14,000 I paid for that watch. And at the time, I just thought, whoa, what am I doing spending this much money on a watch? I personally have never really been that taken by the Daytonas. I bought it back then. It was like my first investment piece that I bought, like, oh, I'll hold on to this for a while, see where it goes, and I'll sell it. Anyway, back then, I just, I wasn't as comfortable as I am now. I had it for about 3 months, probably wore it once. This was before I was on YouTube, before I was on Instagram, before I was on anything. And hence I never got an opportunity to review it. But I had it, and it just didn't really vibe for me. It's a relatively small watch. I mean, I like smaller watches. You know, some people think this is smaller on me, but I like smaller compact watches. But the ceramic for me just didn't work. It didn't work. It's not the most legible dial either. It hasn't got a date. I mean, the Daytona is just so famous for what it is because it's the Daytona. But if you push the urban legend thing to one side, you know, taking it apart, you know, piece by piece, it doesn't really do much for me. I'm not a big chronograph guy. Anyway, why do I regret selling it? I'm saying all these things. I regret selling it because obviously they went up like crazy. So I regret selling it from an investment point of view, the Daytona chronograph. I forgot the reference now. I should know the reference. I mean, I talk watches. But I always preferred the stainless steel ones with the stainless steel bezel. I think they're prettier, a lot nicer. I think they're holding value better. But it would have been a nice watch to have as an option nowadays. It just didn't work. Like I say, I sold it 2-3 months later. I think I made about £2,500 on it, and I was so chuffed with myself. I thought, yeah, you know, you've made it. You know what you're doing. Little did I know, had I just kept it a bit longer, things would have gone a bit better for it. But yeah, that's number 4 on the list, guys. Let's see what's number 3 on a list, or on the watch sell regret list, as I've called it. Number 3 on the watch sell regret list is the Explorer 2 16570, the Polar. I reviewed it on this channel, maybe 3 years ago now, 4 years ago. I picked it up for such a good price. I picked it up for the equivalent of around £3,200. No box, no paper. It was a 2008. It had the 3186 movement in it, which I got checked. So it was a bit of a unicorn Explorer 2 Polar, in that it had the 3186 movement. That was my first step into truly kind of neo-vintage Rolex. It was my first step into it, and what I was struck by was how comfortable it was. The bracelet was completely different to what we're used to in the new stuff. It was so comfortable, it was so light. I couldn't stop talking about it, I think, in some of my videos. It went really nicely with a white shirt. It was a bit smaller. I'm not the biggest fan of new Explorer 2s, but I liked the red hand on it, the red GMT hand. I think it weighed about 125 grams, 130 grams max. Like I say, it was watch only. I had the guy who I bought it from had the receipt where he bought it from some jeweler somewhere, and it was just a really, really nice watch to have. And again, I sold it sometime later, maybe a year or two later. I sold it for, you know, minimal profit, but at the time my collection was getting quite big, and I just wanted to cut off the fat, and the Polar fell into the fat definition. I just wanted to trim things, and I just thought, wow, just sell it, you know, pay a credit card bill or something like that. And I do regret selling it. A nice guy picked it up. He really liked the watch. I think he saw the value in it. It wasn't the easiest to sell without box and paper, but I think even now it's worth substantially more. It was just really nice. It was a good condition one. It wasn't polished. It just, you know, had that movement that everyone likes. So yeah, I won't be rebuying though. I won't be rebuying. All right, guys. Number 2 on the watch sell regret list. I actually contacted this guy maybe 4 months ago, asking if he'd consider selling this watch back to me. This is the Rolex Submariner No Date, or the Rolex Submariner as it's actually known, pre-ceramic. It's the 14060M. I had a 2010 one. It was a V Series 2010 one. V or G, I forget now. I think G was later. It was a V Series. It had a rubber strap. The bracelet felt absolutely rubbish, but there was so much charm in this watch. I was so charmed by this watch. I don't know why. And it was just so comfortable. It was so comfortable and just perfect size. And it literally put new subs, in my eyes, it just put them to shame. Like size-wise, what's happened to Submariners? It's blingy, big stuff. Most Submariners look too big on the people's wrists who I see them wearing. Most subs do. Submariner should be for the average wrist in general. Sometimes it might be a tiny bit too big. Sometimes a tiny bit too small. Not blatantly too big. Submariner for me, the new ones have fallen into the blatantly too big stuff. Anyway, the 14060M, I had it on a rubber strap, on a black Everest rubber strap. Damn, that watch was nice on a black rubber strap. That watch, in fact, opened the floodgates for me to the rubber strap world, because it had come with a rubber strap, and it was like, well, I just chuck it on, and I could do it myself because it's got the lug holes. So I just did it myself. I already had this little, whatever you call it, pin tweezer. I don't know. Someone will correct me in the comment section, and I could do it myself. A bit fiddly at the start, but it was perfect. And it was so nice to be able to change between the bracelet and the strap. But anyway, that's not why the watch was great. I just found the balance of the watch. I just think that was Rolex nailing it. That was really them nailing it. That was the sweet spot. And I sold it. I remember now why. I sold it because I picked up a Sea Dweller 16600. And it wasn't just any Sea Dweller, it was my 16600 V series, which was the 2008 final series of the Sea Dweller. And I could not justify having the Sea Dweller pre-ceramic and the Submariner pre-ceramic together. They were just too similar a watch. On my Instagram, steelmoon_watches, there were pictures I was taking together of them. I was always asking the other half, like, which one? She's like, you're crazy. They're the same watch. And I'm like, they're not, but I understand where you're coming from. And well, the Sea Dweller was always going to be it for me. The Sea Dweller, it just felt better made, especially that V series, which I still have. And I let the 14060 go. Funny thing is, I let that 14060 go, and I brought it back 6 months later from a different individual, this same one, and I sold it again for profit. I'm not sure why I sold it. I sold it for profit because he was missing something. What was he missing? But I made a good buck on it. Oh yeah, I remember I bought it because originally they didn't have a box, and I had a spare box, and it just added like an astonishing amount of value. Anyway, I regret selling that watch. I contacted the guy again to buy it. He loves it. And I actually had that watch twice, and I sold it. Which leads me on really nicely to the number one watch I regret selling most out of my collection. Albeit it wasn't really a collection back then. The watch I regret selling the most was my first ever Rolex. It was the Rolex Hulk. 2013, 16610 LV. Is it? 116610 LV. Yeah. That was my first Rolex, my first Submariner. That was my first step into milestone territory for me. I was picking between a black, green, and I went green. It just did everything for me. I sold it at the time. I thought I'd just quickly flip it. I was X amount away from a particular deposit for a house. I just thought, quickly, just get rid of the watch, I'll get another one. I wasn't thinking back then. I wasn't in the watch community. I wasn't embedded in it. I wasn't speaking to people. Had I had a watch person with half a brain next to me, they would have said, don't sell your first Rolex. Here, I'll loan you the money. Just don't sell your first Rolex. Anyway, I sold the first Rolex, my first Rolex, which was the Hulk. I bought it back 3 times again. I forgot now. I had 2 or 3 Hulks again after that. I sold them each time because it wasn't that one. And then I got my final Hulk, which must have been my 3rd or 4th, and I kept that one. That one's just in box stickers, whatever. But that was a big mistake, and every time I bought a Hulk, it was trying to, us watch people, we're not all there, but I was trying to make this next Hulk always emulate my first Hulk, but it wasn't. Because my first Hulk was there with me during a certain journey, and it was the first one. And that was the one I really regret selling. Most annoyingly, I sold it for like 5.2 £5,200 or £5,500 I remember selling it for in 2015. And I was happy because I made £500 on it. Just crazy. But that's about it, guys. I mean, I'm not going to make this video too long, but it was just, I wanted to share a little bit about my journey. And someone asked me which were the watches you regretted selling. So again, in conclusion or in summary, at number 5 is the new Kermit. At number 4, 2016 Daytona that I bought and sold for, I think, £2,500 profit. Number 3, Explorer 2, the 5-digit Polar. Number 2 was that beautiful no-date Submariner pre-ceramic 4-line 2010. And number 1 was my 2013 Rolex Submariner Hulk. And you can probably see you're looking like, oh, look at him. He's looking away into the distance thinking about his Hulk. Yeah, I am. So guys, let me know your thoughts. Put some stuff in the comment section about what you regret selling. I mean, there was one watch which I sold also, but I don't really regret it. It was a step into the watch stuff. I actually sold my first luxury watch. I sold my Breitling Seawolf Avenger. I literally was not wearing that watch. It was an expensive paperweight in my desk drawer. Every time I picked it up, I'm like, I should wear this sometime. I just sold it. I don't regret it. I really don't regret that one. I lost my thing for it. I'm not a Breitling guy anymore. But it was I was kind of thinking, shall I add it to the list? But then I thought, I don't regret selling a Breitling. There's no regret there. But it was my first luxury watch, so maybe some people here will feel differently. Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, guys, share your stuff in the comment section. I like to read it. I usually am quite interactive. And I will see you guys for the next video. Hopefully this microphone is still working and behaving. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.